When the internet first came out, you probably think about emails, message boards, and websites that felt empty. Just plain pages with text floating around in a digital ghost town. It was slow, quiet, almost boring, but it didn't stay that way for long. Because then came MySpace, Reddit, YouTube, platforms that turned the internet into a stage. Suddenly, it wasn't just a tool for sharing information, it became a world of performances. A place where memes spread faster than breaking news, where a random 6-second clip could turn someone into a global star overnight. Suddenly, millions of people weren't just watching content, they were chasing it. Everyone wanted to entertain, to create, to build an audience. Influence became currency, and social media became the new American dream. But here's the thing. While everyone was busy chasing their shot, there was one kid, one of millions, grinding in the shadows, posting videos no one watched, hustling for attention that never came. A kid who wasn't the tallest, strongest, or loudest. A kid who, statistically, was never supposed to make it. But now, it feels like the only name I ever hear is
Cenat!
Cenat grew up in the Bronx, just a 30-minute train ride from Midtown Manhattan, but a world away from the skyscrapers and flashing lights. You see, this wasn't the New York from TV shows. This was the real Bronx, the birthplace of hip-hop, Yankee Stadium, a borough that never slows down. But here's the thing, opportunity doesn't come knocking here. You have to chase it down yourself. At home, life wasn't any easier. Kai was raised by a single mother working 4 jobs just to keep the lights on for him and his 3 siblings. They crammed into a small apartment, surviving paycheck to paycheck. And when those paychecks weren't enough, they found themselves in homeless shelters. Not once, not twice, multiple times. But even in the middle of that chaos, there was something different about Kai. He wasn't the biggest kid. He wasn't the loudest. He wasn't the one teachers praised or kids looked up to. Most people overlooked him, but Kai had one thing most people didn't: hustle, a relentless, obsessive drive to keep going even when no one was watching. And eventually, that drive would lead him to the one thing that changed everything. At first, it was just a distraction, a way to escape the noise of real life. But it didn't stay that way for long. What started as a hobby quickly turned into an obsession. While other kids were out playing basketball or hanging at parties, Kai was glued to his screen, watching, studying. Roman Atwood, FouseyTube, FaZe Clan, the pioneers of early YouTube. They weren't just posting videos, they were building blueprints, crafting the playbook for what it meant to capture attention in a digital world. Kai wasn't just laughing at the content, he was analyzing it. What makes a thumbnail pop? What's the perfect title to make you click? Why do some videos stick while others flop? He took mental notes on everything: titles, pacing, personality. These creators weren't just influencers to him, they were case studies. And eventually, the urge to create became too loud to ignore. At 14, Kai took his first shot. He grabbed a phone, filmed a skit, and uploaded his very first video to Facebook. No fancy equipment, no audience, just raw energy and a passion to make people laugh. The result? Silence. Nobody watched, nobody cared. It flopped. But here's the thing. Kai isn't dangerous because of his wins. He's dangerous because of how he handles failure. Most people would have quit. But Kai, he kept posting, skit after skit, day after day. His early videos barely cracked a few hundred views, but that didn't matter to him because every flop was another rep. Every failed upload was one step closer to figuring it out. He wasn't chasing viral moments. He was building the habit of consistency, the kind of consistency that breaks through when talent isn't enough. And slowly, those early Facebook uploads started to gain a small following. Friends, family, classmates, enough to keep the fire burning. It wasn't millions, but it was something. Soon after, people told him to get on Instagram. Kai didn't even want to at first. The videos had to be shorter, snappier, but he saw the potential, so he adapted. He figured out how to make his content hit, even in under a minute. For the next 2 years, he bounced between Facebook and Instagram, uploading consistently. The views were still modest, but his passion was growing, and so was his skill. By the time Kai hit high school, the gears were turning. The early Facebook skits, the Instagram clips, the constant trial and error, all of it had been leading to this moment. He wasn't guessing anymore. He knew what worked, and more importantly, he knew what flopped and why. So when he finally transitioned to YouTube, it wasn't on a whim, it was strategic. This was the platform where he could play in the big leagues, where every video could be a test, an experiment, a blueprint for something bigger. His first few YouTube uploads, they didn't do numbers. But Kai wasn't built to care about short-term results. He kept uploading, refining his craft with every post. Until one day, the formula clicked. It was a simple prank. The video blew up. Overnight, Kai's channel shot past 30,000 subscribers. But that moment wasn't some random stroke of luck. It was exactly the scenario he'd been preparing for since middle school. One viral prank wasn't the endgame. It was the beginning of a series. The same setup, different locations, bigger reactions, more chaos. Every video built momentum. One prank became two became four, the views stacked like dominoes. And with every upload, his audience grew. The channel was no longer just a side project. It was becoming a machine. And just like that, Cenat was on the board. But success always comes with a catch, because now Kai stood at a crossroads. On one side was everything he ever dreamed of: an audience, influence, the chance to build something bigger than himself. On the other side was college, a degree, stability, the safe path everyone expected him to follow. Teachers, friends, even family told him to play it safe. Keep YouTube as a hobby, graduate, play it smart. But Kai knew better. He knew that greatness doesn't happen by playing it safe. So he made the call. He dropped out of college, fully committed to YouTube.
I told him that I have to drop out.
How you not dropping no college?
I have to drop out of college. I can't go to college no more if I'm having the baby.
From that moment on, everything changed. He embraced experimentation, pushed boundaries. There was no set blueprint, no niche tying him down. His videos kept evolving, but the one constant, the thing viewers kept coming back for, was Kai himself. Not just the pranks, not just the titles, not just the thumbnails. People came back for Kai. Success on YouTube can be a lonely grind, but Kai knew that if he wanted to scale, if he wanted to build something bigger than himself, he couldn't do it alone. That's when AMP came into the picture. AMP, short for Any Means Possible, wasn't just another content group. It wasn't some clout-chasing collective thrown together for views. This was a brotherhood, a tight-knit squad of creators who shared the same mindset, the same grind, the same hunger. The original lineup, Agent, Phantom, Duke Dennis, Chris Next Door, and Davis, weren't just collaborators, they were real friends. They had already turned down bigger creators who didn't fit the vibe. This wasn't about numbers, it was about chemistry. So when they invited Kai to join in 2020, it wasn't a business move, it was a moment.
Come on, man. My guy, AMP guy.
Kai didn't have the biggest following at the time. He wasn't pulling the craziest numbers. But what stood out was his work ethic, his energy, his ability to elevate every video he touched, and the group saw it instantly. Joining AMP gave Kai something he hadn't had before: a team, a platform, a stage bigger than anything he had ever stood on. The formula was simple. Put a bunch of hungry creators in the same room and watch the magic happen. But here's where AMP was different from the FaZe clans and hype houses of the world. They weren't a revolving door. People didn't just join and leave. This was a long-term vision, a family, and that energy translated into the content. From challenge videos to IRL streams, AMP became a content powerhouse. Kai's videos leveled up. The ideas got bigger, the production got sharper, the chaos got funnier, and the numbers, they skyrocketed. But even with all the collabs and viral moments, the viewers still came back for one thing: Kai's authenticity. No scripts, no PR filters, just raw energy and unfiltered personality. And yet, even with all this momentum, there was still one frontier Kai hadn't conquered: streaming. And once he did, the entire internet would feel it. By 2021, Kai had mastered YouTube. The pranks, the skits, the collaborations, he had cracked the code. But there was a new wave forming, and it wasn't on YouTube. It was streaming. At first, streaming was mostly for gamers. Sit in front of a screen, play Call of Duty, and chat with viewers. But slowly, it started to evolve. Streamers weren't just playing games anymore. They were hosting talk shows, doing wild challenges, turning live content into full-blown internet events. And Kai saw it coming. He knew streaming wasn't just the future, it was the now. So in February 2021, Kai went live for the first time on Twitch. Most creators spend months grinding to build a live audience. But Kai? His very first stream pulled in over 1,000 viewers. That's unheard of, but it wasn't luck. It wasn't some viral fluke. It was the result of years of building a loyal audience who would follow him anywhere. Streaming unlocked a new side of Kai. On YouTube, videos are edited, polished, controlled. But on Twitch, it was pure chaos, unfiltered, immediate. Kai wasn't just entertaining, he was electric. His energy wasn't something you could script. It had to be experienced in real time. The internet noticed. By July 2021, the entire AMP crew had moved into a content house together. Their streams exploded. Kai went from averaging a few thousand viewers to over 17,000 live viewers per stream within months. But that was just the beginning. Kai didn't want to be just another streamer sitting in a chair playing the same games on loop. He wanted to turn every stream into an event, something you couldn't look away from. One day, he was hosting Riz Academy, teaching pickup lines to fans. The next, he turned the AMP house into a petting zoo. He played a WNBA player, opened a fake daycare, did collabs with artists like Bobby Shmurda and 21 Savage. Every stream was bigger, louder, more unhinged. Kai wasn't just streaming, he was building culture. He hit 1 million subscribers on YouTube. A few months later, 1 million followers on Twitch. But even with all the milestones, Kai wasn't done, because he had an idea that would take everything to another level, something the internet had never seen before. Streaming is all about real-time interaction. It's not polished, it's not scripted, it's you, live, with an audience that expects you to be entertaining, for hours on end. And while most streamers were fine going live for a few hours and logging off, there was a new wave of creators who wanted to push it further. One of those creators was Ludwig. In 2021, Ludwig pulled off a wild challenge. Every time someone subscribed, his stream would extend. No maximum time limit. Theoretically, he could have been stuck streaming forever. In the end, Ludwig streamed for 31 straight days, broke Twitch's subscriber record, and turned subathons into a cultural phenomenon. Kai watched it happen, and in his mind, the idea clicked. But Kai didn't want to just copy what Ludwig did. He wanted to make it 100 times better. Ludwig's subathon was impressive, but a lot of it was just him gaming or sitting in a chair. Kai's vision was different. He wanted to build a subathon where no matter when you tuned in, day or night, there was always something happening, always a reason to keep watching. So he started planning. 6 months out, Kai grabbed a whiteboard and began writing down every insane idea that popped into his head. From guest appearances to wild challenges. He wanted it all on paper. Once he had the ideas, he mapped them out, day by day, hour by hour. If a guest was flying in, he made sure they were booked and scheduled. If he wanted to go to Universal Studios mid-subathon, he had to figure out the flights, logistics, and who was coming with him. On top of that, he had the idea to film the entire process for a behind-the-scenes documentary after the subathon ended. It was a logistical nightmare, but Kai pulled it off. Because behind the energy, behind the chaos, is someone who thinks 10 steps ahead. Kai isn't just a content creator, he's a strategist. He could have stayed on Facebook forever, stuck with what he knew. But every time an opportunity to grow presented itself, whether it was YouTube, Twitch, or now a month-long subathon, Kai always made the jump. But just as everything was lined up, something happened that nearly blew the entire plan apart. On January 27, 2023, just 5 days before the Mafiathon was set to begin, Kai got banned from Twitch. 7 days. That's how long the ban was supposed to be. And with everything scheduled, guests booked, events lined up, this wasn't just an inconvenience. It was a disaster. Kai thought it was back to the drawing board. He'd have to reschedule everything, shift the entire timeline, maybe even postpone the Mafiathon by months. But then, Twitch did something unexpected. After just 3 days, Twitch lifted the ban. Kai was back, and the Mafiathon was still on. With less than 48 hours to reset and refocus, Kai took a step back. He knew the storm was coming, so he used the final hours to rest, recharge, and mentally lock in. And then, on February 1st, 2023, as the clock struck midnight, Kai went live. What started as a simple subathon idea quickly transformed into a cultural event. Every day brought something new. Guest appearances from rap legends, viral stream moments, chaotic pranks, and emotional late-night talks. It was content overload in the best possible way. Kai had built an unstoppable momentum machine. Viewers couldn't look away. Whether it was a surprise celebrity drop-in or Kai doing something ridiculous on stream, there was always something happening. And then, the number started climbing. 200,000 subscribers. 250,000. 300,000. On day 27 of the Mafiathon, Kai did the impossible. 306,000 active subscribers. He had officially broken the all-time Twitch subscriber record. But this wasn't just a record-breaking moment. This was a statement. A kid from the Bronx who started off posting Facebook skits to an audience of 0 had now become the biggest streamer on the planet. And the crazy part? This was just the beginning. Most gaming streams look the same. A guy in a chair, a neon-lit room, playing the same games on loop. But Kai wasn't like most streamers. He wanted to flip the entire formula. On May 8, 2024, Kai dropped a 2-minute cinematic trailer for his next challenge. Not a teaser, not a clip, a full-blown movie trailer. Scripted, scored, with lighting setups, stunt coordination, and a production crew of 45 people. And this was just for Kai's stream announcement. The challenge? A non-stop marathon where he wouldn't stop streaming until he beat Elden Ring. But this wasn't going to be Kai sitting in a chair. His bedroom was transformed into a high fantasy world. Custom-built sets, props straight from the game, He didn't just play the character, he became them. It was immersive, theatrical, light years ahead of anything the platform had seen. But this wasn't a gimmick, this was a shift, a new gold standard for what streaming could be. From Elden Ring DLCs to Bloodborne, Sekiro, and even Batman Arkham, Kai injected movie-level production into gaming streams, elevating not just the gameplay, but the platform itself. At one point, he even teamed up with MrBeast for a mind-bending prank. They built a one-to-one replica of Kai's room, rigged it with fireworks, and detonated it mid-stream to make viewers think it was happening live. It didn't take long for people to catch on, but by that point, it didn't even matter. Kai had already redefined what streaming could be, but the question still remained. When would he top himself again? The answer came on November 1st, 2024. Kai Cenat kicked off Mafiathon 2. But this wasn't just a sequel, it was a spectacle. Set inside a $55 million mansion spanning 30,000 square feet, Kai transformed his life into a living, breathing broadcast. Over 67 cameras captured every single angle of the house. 5-man production teams worked in rotating shifts to make sure not a single second went unseen. Whether he was eating, sleeping, or showering, Kai was live. No filter, no script, no privacy. Fans watched him exist in real time, 24/7. But what truly set Mafiathon 2 apart was the scale. This wasn't a stream, it was a cultural event. Every day, viewers tuned in with one question: what's Kai going to do next? The guest list looked like a fever dream. Miranda Cosgrove, Snoop Dogg, Kevin Hart, Lil Dicky, Sisa, Nardwuar. It wasn't just influencers or Twitch streamers. It was mainstream celebrities, scientists, musicians, and cultural icons all stepping into Kai's world. Massive giveaways, AI robots costing $25,000 each. Pranks, challenges, surprises, every single moment was meticulously planned. No cost was spared. This wasn't just content, it was a masterclass in creating a moment the internet would never forget. For a lot of creators, the story ends once they hit the top. They get the bag, enjoy the spotlight, and build a life of luxury that's only big enough for one. But Kai was never wired like that. From the start, it was never just about him. It was about his people, his day ones, the friends who had been grinding with him before the world even knew his name. While other influencers moved to LA and switched up their circle, Kai stayed loyal to his core. The AMP family wasn't some content collective thrown together for clout. These were real friendships, built on trust, built on hustle. And when Kai finally got the spotlight, he didn't hoard it. He passed the mic. He turned his platform into a launchpad for new stars. Every stream, every viral moment, every guest appearance, he made sure his brothers ate too. And that's the difference between influence and legacy. Influence is how many people know your name. Legacy is how many people you help build theirs. But it didn't stop there. When Kick came knocking with a $60 million offer, Kai made a decision that would define his character. He turned it down. In a world where creators jump ship for the biggest bag, Kai chose authenticity. He chose his audience. He chose the platform that built him. Because for Kai, it was never about cashing out and leaving it all behind. It was about building something real, something bigger than himself. He's proof that you don't have to step on others to climb the ladder. You can stay humble, stay grounded, and still dominate the game. You can build an empire and still hold the door open for the next ones coming up. And maybe that's Kai Cenat's greatest power move of all. Because the story of Kai Cenat isn't just about streaming. It's not just about numbers or records. It's about a kid from the Bronx who wasn't supposed to make it.